it's our own mindset holding us back from really going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, get this. One of you sent in this episode of the Elevate and Empower podcast. And
Oh, interesting.
it got me thinking we got to do a deep dive on this whole power of positive thinking thing.
Yeah, it's way more than just like slapping on a smile and pretending everything's okay, you know?
Right, exactly. And the episode actually makes a really good point about that. It's not about ignoring problems.
Right.
It's about how you approach those situations.
It is.
Do you focus on the problems or do you empower yourself to find the solutions?
Like you're choosing to focus on what you can control, you know?
Yeah.
And there's actually a whole concept around this that I find fascinating. It's called learned optimism.
Okay, so tell me about that. Learned optimism.
Yeah. So Martin Seligman, a really prominent researcher in positive psychology, he actually, he found that optimism, you can learn it.
Wow.
It's a skill you can develop.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those negative thought patterns that we all have and then working to actively challenge them.
So it's not like some people are just born lucky, like, oh, I'm an optimist.
Right. You're not doomed to be a pessimist.
It's like a muscle you can build.
Totally.
Okay, so then why should we all care about this learned optimism?
Well, the benefits are pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the podcast even mentioned some studies linking positive thinking to better cardiovascular health,
Oh, wow.
potentially even lowering your risk of heart disease.
So it's not just like, oh, I feel better.
Exactly.
It's affecting your physical well-being, too.
It could be, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just imagine how you'd approach a challenge.
Right.
If you truly believe that something great could come out of it,
Yeah.
you're going to be more likely to keep going when things get tough.
You're going to try different things.
You're going to think outside the box.
Right. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost,
Absolutely.
if you believe it.
You're more likely to achieve it.
Yeah. But what's the science behind all of this?
So the podcast breaks it down with this concept of neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
It's kind of a mouthful,
Yeah.
but basically your brain's always rewiring itself based on what you're thinking and experiencing.
So it's not like we're stuck with the brain we're born with.
Right, not at all.
It's like always evolving, right?
Constantly changing.
Okay. So does that mean the more we think positively, the more those pathways in our brain get stronger?
That's the idea. It's like, you know, people say the brain's like a muscle.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like that, but the
Mhm.
more you use certain pathways,
Right.
the stronger they become.
Okay, so it is kind of like exercising those positive thinking pathways.
Exactly.
Well, that's interesting. And the podcast even talks about this broaden and build theory, right?
Yeah.
Barbara Fredrickson, what was that all about?
Yeah, she's a researcher who found that when we experience positive emotions,
Right.
it actually broadens our thinking. We become more open to new ideas.
So it's like if you're feeling positive, your brain's just kind of like, yeah, let's explore. Let's see what's out there.
Right, exactly.
I like that.
It expands our perspective.
Okay, so positive thinkers are then more creative, more likely to problem solve, and even build better connections with people.
Yeah, and that's so crucial.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
Okay, now I gotta ask about gratitude.
Oh, yes.
The episode really emphasizes that, and I know it's a big topic, but how does expressing gratitude actually affect our brains?
Well, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Gratitude triggers the release of those feel-good chemicals in our brains.
Like what?
Dopamine,
Uh-huh.
serotonin,
Yes.
all those neurotransmitters linked to happiness and well-being.
So it's not just like, oh, I'm being polite.
No, it's a physiological response.
It's actually changing what's happening inside my body.
Absolutely.
Wow. And the episode even gives us like a little homework assignment to help boost our gratitude. It says we should try writing down 3 things we're grateful for every day.
It's a classic technique, but it really works.
Okay.
And the key is to not just list them, but to really focus on why you're grateful for each thing.
Okay, so like, don't just say, I'm grateful for my family. Say why.
Yeah, like I'm grateful for my family because they always support me no matter what.
Okay, so you really dig deep into it.
Exactly.
Now, let's be real for a sec, right?
Yeah.
We all have those negative thoughts sometimes.
No, absolutely.
It's totally normal. But the podcast talks about this technique called cognitive restructuring.
Well, that's a good one.
What is that?
So it's basically about challenging those negative thoughts when they pop up.
Okay.
Instead of letting them just run wild in your mind,
You stop them in their tracks.
you examine them. You ask yourself, is this thought really true?
Okay.
What evidence do I have to support it?
Oh, interesting.
And then you can try to reframe it.
Reframe it. So, like, turning a negative thought into a more positive or helpful one.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because often those negative thoughts are distorted.
And they're not even accurate a lot of the time.
Right.
Wow, this is really cool. And you know what else?
What's that?
The episode mentions a study where people who practiced positive affirmations,
Oh, yeah.
they were actually more confident
It's powerful stuff.
and more willing to tackle challenges head on.
Because they were essentially retraining their brains
Right.
to focus on those positive aspects of themselves.
It's like those affirmations were actually changing the way they saw themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, and you know, speaking of visualizing success,
Yes.
the podcast really gets into that too. It's like vividly picturing yourself achieving your goals.
Oh, yeah. Visualization is a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's almost like athletes do that
Yeah.
before a competition.
They imagine themselves performing those perfect moves.
So they're almost giving their brains a mental rehearsal. And the episode actually says research shows this can have a real impact on performance.
It can help prime your brain for success.
It's so cool how our minds can influence our reality like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about the environment we create for ourselves too.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
The people we spend time with, the content we consume.
The things we surround ourselves with.
All of that plays a role, right?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because it can all impact how we think and feel.
So the podcast emphasizes surrounding ourselves with more positive influences.
Exactly.
But does that mean I have to, like, cut all the negative people out of my life?
Well, not necessarily. It's
Okay.
more about being mindful of how much negativity you're exposed to.
Okay, so you're being selective.
Right.
Like choosing to spend more time with people who lift you up rather than drag you down.
Exactly. It's like curating your mental diet, you know?
Yeah, I love that.
You wouldn't eat junk food all day, every day and expect to be healthy. Right.
It's the same for your mind.
Yeah.
Feed it with things that nourish and uplift you.
Right.
Okay, so before we wrap up this part of our deep dive into positive thinking, I think the key takeaway here is that it's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
It's about taking action.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with that positive mindset.
It's about those small steps you take every day that lead to big changes.
And you know, the podcast really encourages us to start small, to set like tiny goals each day,
It's those small wins that build momentum.
and that keep you motivated.
Exactly.
It's a journey.
It is.
It's not a sprint to the finish line.
Exactly.
It's about those consistent efforts over time.
Yeah, and being kind to yourself along the way.
Yeah, you're going to have setbacks, but it's about getting back up and trying again.
That's resilience in action.
And that's what builds that positive mindset muscle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we've uncovered so much about how powerful our thoughts can be, and I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty. Like, how do we actually make this positive thinking thing,
Put it into practice.
yeah, a part of our daily lives?
Yeah, for sure.
So the podcast talks about mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, this is something I hear about everywhere, but
That's a buzzword, yeah.
I'm still a little fuzzy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, what do I actually do to be mindful?
Well, think about it this way. Imagine your mind is like a highway during rush hour.
Okay.
You got thoughts zipping around,
Yeah.
people honking, cutting each other off,
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Right. Mindfulness is like creating a little rest stop off that highway.
Okay, I like that.
You know, a place where you can step back and just observe those thoughts
Right.
without getting caught up in the traffic jam.
So instead of being, like, taken for a ride by my thoughts, I'm choosing to just, like, observe them from a distance.
Yeah, you're becoming aware of them, but you're not letting them control you.
That's amazing. So with mindfulness, I can actually, like, train my brain to be less reactive to all those crazy thoughts.
Exactly. You're developing that self-awareness to be able to choose which thoughts you want to engage with.
Wow, that's powerful. But does this mean I need to be, like, meditating on a mountaintop for hours every day?
No, not at all. You could practice mindfulness anywhere,
Really?
anytime.
Okay.
Like, you know, even simple things like when you're having your morning coffee
Right.
or taking a walk or even just washing the dishes.
Yeah.
You can turn those into mindful moments
Oh, I like that.
just by bringing your full attention to what you're doing in that moment.
Okay, so I can incorporate it into my everyday life.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot. The podcast also talks about affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
And we touched on them earlier, but I feel like we need to, like,
Dig a little deep.
yeah, a little deeper here.
For sure.
How do they work? Like, how do affirmations actually change our thinking?
So affirmations, they're those positive statements
Right.
that you repeat to yourself.
Okay.
And the key is they have to resonate with you.
Okay.
Like, what are your goals? What are your values? What qualities do you want to strengthen?
Okay, so it's not just picking some random generic affirmations.
Right, it has to be
It
personal.
has to mean something to me.
Exactly. It's like you're planting these seeds of positivity,
Okay.
and then you're nurturing them with repetition.
Okay, so instead of repeating those negative thoughts like, ugh, I'm not good enough, I could say something like, I am capable, I am worthy.
Exactly. And by doing that consistently, you're basically reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Oh, wow.
You're replacing those limiting beliefs with empowering ones.
It sounds, I don't know, it sounds too good to be true.
I know. But there's actually science to back it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just some like self-help woo-woo.
No, not at all. Researchers have found that affirmations,
Okay.
they can actually lead to measurable changes in brain activity.
No, I...
Yep. They strengthen those neural pathways
Okay.
that are associated with positive emotions and self-belief.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you're literally rewiring your brain for positivity.
Okay, but I have to be honest. I've tried affirmations before, and sometimes it just feels like I'm trying to convince myself of something I don't believe.
I get it, it can feel a little weird at first,
Yeah.
but remember, our brains are constantly learning and adapting.
Okay.
So even if you don't fully believe it in the beginning, by consciously choosing to focus on those positive affirmations,
Right.
you're planting those seeds.
Okay.
You're giving your brain the opportunity to shift.
So it's like I'm telling my brain what I want it to believe, even if it's not there yet.
Exactly. It's like choosing to nourish your mind with healthy thoughts instead of junk food thoughts.
I love that analogy. It
Right.
makes so much sense. Okay, so if I want to create affirmations that actually work, where do I start?
So first things first, make sure they're in the present tense,
Okay, present tense.
like as if they're already true. Okay. So instead of saying I will be confident, you say I am confident.
I am confident. Okay, got it.
And make them personal.
Okay.
You know, really think about what you want to achieve,
Yeah.
what qualities you want to bring into your life.
Yeah.
And then consistency is key.
Okay, repetition, repetition, repetition.
Exactly. Write them down, record yourself saying them, put them up where you can see them every day.
I'm going to make some affirmation sticky notes.
There you go.
Put them on my mirror everywhere.
Perfect.
Okay, so present tense, personal, and practice them consistently.
You got it.
Got it. Now, I'm curious about this idea of reframing that the podcast talked about.
Oh yeah, reframing is powerful.
What is that?
So it's basically shifting your perspective. It's about looking for the opportunity in a challenging situation
Okay.
rather than getting stuck in the negativity.
That's like finding that silver lining.
Exactly. It's not denying that the negative exists.
Okay.
It's acknowledging it.
Yeah.
And then choosing to focus on what you can learn or how you can grow from the experience.
Okay, give me an example. Like, how could I use reframing in my own life?
Okay, so let's say you're stuck in traffic.
Hate that.
Right. Instead of getting all frustrated, could you reframe it as an opportunity to listen to a podcast?
Oh.
Or, I don't know, practice some mindfulness, maybe?
Okay, yeah, so I'm using that time productively instead of just stewing in my frustration.
Right.
I like that. What about if, like, I get some criticism at work? That always feels tough.
Yeah, criticism can be hard to hear. But instead of taking it personally, could you reframe it as a chance to learn and improve your skills?
Okay, so shift my perspective
Yeah.
from, like, defensiveness to, like, okay, how can I grow from this?
Exactly.
Wow, that's a game changer. But it sounds like reframing takes practice.
It does. It's a skill you develop over time.
Okay.
But the more you do it, the more you'll naturally start to see the positive in every situation.
It's like training your brain to look for the good, even when things are tough.
Exactly.
But reframing is all about shifting our perspective, finding that opportunity in the challenge,
Yeah.
and choosing to focus on the positive.
Absolutely.
This is good stuff. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive on positive thinking.
It's been a journey.
It really has, you know? We've talked about the science, the strategies.
How to actually make it work.
Yeah. And like the thing I keep coming back to is this isn't just about like putting on a happy face and pretending everything's perfect.
Right. No, not at all. It's about making a choice.
Exactly. A conscious choice to focus on the good stuff.
To believe in yourself.
And approach challenges with that optimistic, resilient spirit that we've been talking about.
You know, even when things get tough.
Right, because they will. And I think what's so empowering about this is anyone can do it.
Absolutely.
It's not like you have to be born with this like positive gene or something. It's a skill. It's something you can learn and practice and get better at over time.
And it's okay to not be positive all the time, too.
Exactly. Life happens.
Yeah, you're going to have bad days, you're going to experience setbacks, but
It's how you respond that matters.
yeah, do you let those negative thoughts take the wheel, or do you use those tools?
The mindfulness, the affirmations,
Yeah.
the reframing.
Yeah, to like shift your perspective, get back on track.
Yeah,
And I think the more we practice these things, the easier it becomes, right?
absolutely. It's like building a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
So the more we work that positive thinking muscle,
The more resilient we become.
yeah.
The better we can handle whatever life throws at us.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are like the key takeaways? What do we really want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah, there's no finish line here. It's about progress, not perfection.
Be kind to yourself along the way
Yes, setbacks are going to happen. It's about getting back up and trying again.
and learning from those experiences.
Exactly. So don't try to change everything overnight.
Start small. Pick one thing
Yeah. Like maybe it's writing down those 3 things you're grateful for.
or trying out an affirmation.
Just do it consistently every day. And most importantly, believe in yourself, in your ability to create positive change in your life.
Because you absolutely have that power.
You do. So as you go about your day today, I want you to think about, what are you going to choose to focus on
What small step can you take today?
to cultivate that more positive mindset? Because every thought, every action, it all adds up.
It really does.
So choose wisely, choose positivity, and watch your life transform.
It's been amazing exploring this with you.
Yeah, this was a good one. And to all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new and that you feel inspired to embrace the power of positive thinking in your own lives.
Until next time.
Keep those positive vibes flowing